Hello, my awesome PMPs, PMI credential holders. You know it's always a pleasure to speak to you. There are not a lot of people in the world that are like us. PMI junkies, huh? There are not a lot of us. So when changes like this happen, it's just good to speak about those changes and make sense out of the changes. So I'm curious to know what you think about this PMP exam, not PMP exam, I'm so used to saying that. PMI talent triangle changes. I'm curious to know what you think. Do you think this is a great move? What are your impressions? If you care to, you can drop me a comment in the chat. If you just want to take part in the survey and let me know what you think, that will be great as well. Okay, so let's take a look at what is on the screen. I'm just going to get out of the way so that I can explain this a little bit more. I'm hearing myself coming back to myself. Hang on a second, let me silence myself. All right, one of that guy is enough, isn't it? So let's talk about this talent triangle change. What do you think? I'm curious to know what you think. Maybe to you it's not a big deal. Maybe to you it is a big deal. But I'm going to go over it with you. I always approach everything from a risk lens, and I like approaching these changes from a leadership lens because I like to make sense out of things from a leadership perspective. So let me just get out of the way, and you can see right behind me, we have the old talent triangle, right over there. The old talent triangle that you see there. You can see the technical project management, you can see leadership, and underneath you can see the base of strategic and business management. Now, let me move things around so that I can move it to center stage and maybe talk a little bit about it. So let me move it center stage. All right, so you get the idea, you're seeing it now. Personally, if I was going to have worked the old one, this one over there, the leadership, I would have put leadership at the base because everything rises and falls on leadership, right? In the words of John Maxwell. And technical and strategic, I would have moved them to be the other two. The base is leadership. So you probably get an idea of what I'm thinking. I don't think it's a great idea to get rid of leadership in anything. I applauded the PMI so much for putting leadership in the talent triangle initially. It's not something I would have taken out. I think that was a big mistake, taking out leadership that everything rests on, everything. No matter how proficient you are in the world of technical knowledge or business, your success is actually very, very hugely dependent on your leadership skills and ability, right? But that's for another day. Let's talk about the new one over here. So the new one, taking a look at the new talent triangle, we have ways of working, replacing the technical project management. We have power skills, of all words to use PMI. My goodness, of all things to use, power? No, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. Why did you introduce such a controversial word? Ugh, my goodness. And then it's called power skills. Interpersonal skills and soft skills are not very nice referred to as power skills. That was wrong. That was just wrong. All right. And then business acumen, it sounds shorter. However, there's something missing that I am not really happy about. I like the fact that business acumen is short. It's short and sweet. But what I don't like, they took away one of my favorite words. And that word, as you see on the screen, is this one right here, strategy. How could you take out the word strategic? The thing I like about the old talent triangle is it makes you intentional about your PDUs in a way you wouldn't have been. I cannot tell you how much value calling out leadership and strategy had to me as a project manager, because those are things you blow past. You cannot replace strategic management and strategy with anything in this new triangle. You can't. It's missing the strategic. So from a portfolio management perspective, from a strategy perspective, C-suite. No. Strategy is so much, because we've seen it over and over again. The likes of Kodak, the Kodaks of this world, the OFOs of this world, the Toys R Us's of this world, the TM Lewins of this world. Go ask them about strategy. They'll probably tell you to leave it in, because what killed those companies was a lack of strategy. So taking a look at the new, I think there's some things that are good about it, but I think there's a few things that are not completely great about it. So we're going to take a look at what the implication is. Now, thank you very much for voting. I see some folks voted, and I totally feel what you're thinking. You're like, it's a bad idea. No. So I want to hear from more of you. Those of you who are on, please vote right now. Please vote, please vote, please vote. And I would really like to know your thoughts. If you want to share anything in the chat, what you're thinking, I would really appreciate it, so that we can have balance. This is not a one-person perspective type of channel. It's where we have dialogue and discussion. So I invite you to have some dialogue. If you just want to say a quick hello, that's all right. If you're one of my alumni, I'd like to hear from you. All right, so let's talk about the talent triangle. Let's go into a more detailed review. So here are my thoughts. The old talent triangle, everything rises and falls on leadership. You've probably heard me say this so many times. My mentor, John C. Maxwell, we call him America's leadership guru, and he's been my mentor and my coach in all things leadership. And honestly, my first book that I ever put my name on, it was as a result of John. So he's had a lot of impact on me and my career. And he'll just say everything rises and falls on leadership. How good you are in business, it rises and falls on leadership. How good you are as a person after taking the PMP exam, in terms of the value you bring, it rises and falls on leadership. Just try working so hard without putting a leadership component behind. You're going to fail. Or try working so hard and forget about people. You are going to fail. Because everything rises and falls on how well you're able to influence. Leadership is influence. Anyway, that's for a different day. You probably already know that I formed the Project Leadership Institute. If you go to projectleadershipinstitute.com, you'll see the program that I'm currently running for my PMP gurus. But leadership is everything, everything. Take a look at the world of Agile. Why do we underscore servant leadership so heavily? We talk about leadership all throughout. The Agile Manifesto is actually riddled with leadership. It's riddled with leadership. So in my mind, I don't think it should have been changed. I think the PMI should have left leadership in. They could have taken everything else out, but I think they should have left leadership in. I saw Nicole come in, and Nicole left a message, but I can't see the message that Nicole left. Nicole, do you want to drop me that message again? Is that the Nicole who I know? Nicole, do you want to leave your unfiltered opinion? Is that Nicole W? That Nicole W? I think that's Nicole W. My buddy Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. So Nicole says, I think the old triangle was so helpful with... Oh, hey, Nicole, you preempted me. I'm coming. Hey, wait at the crossroads. Wait at the crossroads. You don't want to miss what I have to say about that. That's a whole topic. Let's talk about technical project management. It's a bit of a mouthful, right? Technical project management. And it's a little bit jarring and scary. However, let's be honest about who we are. We are the Project Management Institute. Think about that for a second. Project Management Institute. That's who we are. So why do we constantly struggle with the word project management? Why do we think it's a bad word? Why do we think it's an evil word? Why would we rather call it something else? No, we're the Project Management Institute. This is who we are. Now, if you take a look at technical project management, if you've been in the Agile community long enough, like I have, it's funny because I kind of see myself in both worlds. I'm in the Agile community, I'm deeply rooted in PMI, deeply rooted in Agile. So I often hear the banter that goes on back and forth behind the scenes. So it kind of does exclude, if you wanted to say agilists, people who consider themselves hardcore agilists. There's that going, well, it's project management and it's not agile. But what could we have done? Could we have done something else? Now let's take a look at what is behind me. I'm going to go back to the very first slide so that you can see what's behind me. Ways of working. How does that replace technical project management? How? It just doesn't. It doesn't. So I think what is missing in this new one, I like ways of working in that it sensitizes you to another dimension that comes under project management when you really think about it. I think instead of calling these different things, I think PMI needs to redefine project management. Because project management is many different things. The talent triangle of old, it exemplified what project management was in total, the sum total of project management. Now, taking away that technical project management and replacing it with words of working, it just doesn't do it for me. Thank you, Nicole. It's great to see you. And actually, Nicole sent me a message, right, just before I got on. I was stalling to do this review because I really didn't want it to come out the way I was feeling last night. It wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been very useful. So I decided to sleep over it. Because when I saw it, I'm like, again? Again? So you're going to hear all my thoughts on my musings very soon. But I just thought, again? So when Nicole sent me that email, it was a kind of catalyst. So thank you, Nicole. You got no idea how much I appreciate your message. But it kind of catalyzed me saying, okay, let's just come out with it, you know. We've already got the content, we've already got the thoughts, let everyone hear. All right, so I can understand PMI's dilemma in wanting to call it other things, but I am not totally sold on ways of working. I think PMI could have stuck to something around project management, but ways of working, I'm not totally sold on that. Let's talk about strategic and business management. So the old talent triangle, yeah, like I said, I really like the word strategy. And if you check my personal channel, incidentally, it's really funny because before I saw this, I had started doing a series on strategic and business management. For those folks who may not have doubled into it, it's quite an interesting topic. In fact, here on my desk, I have a book written by Colin White. You probably don't see what it's called. It's called Strategic Management. So I had been teaching strategy for a few days leading up to this announcement. I'm like, what? Wow. So anyway, my musings on taking out strategic, why did you do that? Now, people aren't going to be thinking strategy, and strategy is what is missing in a lot of firms. Hey, PMI, I think you need to go back to the strategy book. Go read it. Hey, when Mark was part of PMI, the CEO, you might recall that Mark invited the well-renowned professor Michael Porter. Go check out the video when Michael Porter came to speak to PMI. You'll understand why I'm getting crazy about strategy right now, because that was missing in a lot of dialogue. And Michael Porter brought some really great context. Let me see if I can find that video of Michael Porter talking about strategy. Michael Porter, PMI. This was maybe a decade ago. He called it aligning strategy. My goodness, if you watch this video, you will appreciate the value of strategy. Let me put it in the chat. Go check out that video. All right. So that's a really great video to watch to understand why I think taking strategy out of the naming, it it kind of gets lost because people aren't going to call their attention to that word anymore. Business acumen. Yeah, I've got business acumen. Everyone has business acumen to some degree, but strategy, yeah, that's not a very common one. So take a look at that Michael Porter video and you might appreciate it more. Now let's talk about the new prongs of the triangle. The first one is power skills. Now, like I said in the beginning, this language is not leadership friendly. Yeah, it's not. Because power and leadership are two different things. When you talk about leadership, it's all about influence. The true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. When you talk about power, power comes with position. So the word power kind of rubs the wrong way. I don't think it's the best word to use for interpersonal skills. It's not. Now, I know what they're getting at, but it's still not a good word for anyone who's sensitive to the dialogue between leadership and power and management. No. So power is not leadership. This is one rung of the ladder I would have left intact in leadership. I just leave leadership alone. Everyone, look, almost everyone, it surprises me because I teach kids as well. It surprises me how many kids can give you an entire lecture on leadership and give you examples. And I know this firsthand. I mean, it first hit me when I went out to Utah to train some kids in a secondary school, and they were teaching leadership without any prior notice, as though on cue. They tell you what leadership is. So leadership is a universal language. Power skills, not so much. I wouldn't have changed leadership. Let's move on to way of working. So talking about way of working, flexibility is key. Yes, I agree. Everyone should look for different ways of working, understand the different dimensions. You got agile, you got predictive, you've got iterative, you've got incremental. Yes, yes, yes. But I think PMI should focus on the identity as Project Management Institute. Project management is not a bad word. Hey, PMI, is it time for a spin-off? Are you getting bored of being the Project Management Institute, huh? Maybe it's time for a spin-off. Let's just spin something off. How about Citizen Development Institute? You see what I did there? PMI, think about a spin-off. Because Project Management Institute is not a bad word. It's not bad. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox. Business acumen. The word strategy is missing. That's my pet peeve with this one. In essence, yes, it's the same stuff, but a different name. Okay, so let's go into the documentation that PMI provided for this. So going into the website right here, let's read the setup for this entire thing. For those of you who are coming, yeah, I know some of you don't even care about this, and I don't blame you. You just want to get your PDUs and move on. Yes, I understand. Yes, yes, yes. But that's coming. I want to show you how PMI have changed this to read PDU type stuff. All right, so in our changing world, project professionals must be more nimble and resourceful than ever to keep pace and create impact. As new industries, practices, and technologies evolve, can you see it? Right? Emerge, project professionals and their teams are challenged to pivot quickly and work even more efficiently. Also, they can deliver in our changing world. PMI has always been committed to empowering project professionals to develop a robust set of skills, but project professionals now need a skill set inclusive of different disciplines and practices, as well as other in-demand skills. To help project professionals navigate this changing world of work and embrace smarter ways of working, we've updated the size of the PMI Talent Triangle to focus on ways of working, formerly technical project management, power skills, formerly leadership, and business acumen, formerly strategic and business management. So there you have it. And crickets at the bottom of the page because I don't have enough substance. Hey, PMI, because I know you watch my videos. You love me, I know, and I love PMI as well. So it's that kind of relationship. PMI, let me give you some advice. When you're doing something like this, have sense-making sessions? Why wouldn't you have a sense-making session about this? Why would you just wake up and suddenly, as though by magic, ta-da! It's a new talent triangle! Yay! Are you kidding me? Do you know how many people don't like this? You didn't even give them a running start. You just, boom, you just smack them out of nowhere. That's not how to do things. It shows me that PMI doesn't really understand stakeholder management, stakeholder engagement, and the position that they take in a lot of people's lives. PMI, do you know that people, entire companies, have developed a curriculum around the former talent triangle? Did you know that? You probably don't think about those things. How would you just make a monumental change? Well, they just have to roll with it. We give the rules. Come on now. I'm very disappointed that there couldn't be at least a few sense-making sessions and a big old announcement. And then people say, Phil, you're too hard on them. Why are you always criticizing the PMI? And people complain. Well, I beg to differ. I think PMI should have been more mindful of people in making these changes. It's just not good enough. All right? So the next thing I want to talk about is more strategy related. It's more for people who care about where PMI is going. In fact, if you pretty much couldn't care less about this, you can actually drop off the call right now, because I want to talk about the pros and cons. So let's talk about the cons of this change. First of all, you're going to have to relearn. Those of you who are really into PDUs, I know some of you are not. But for those of you who are into PDUs and you've already got a very easy configuration of what is technical project management, you got to make the switch. So what do I mean by making the switch? Let's open up yet another document from the PMI. One thing I will give PMI credit for in this change was they didn't keep this to the 99th hour when people start asking. They actually made the change concurrent. So I was kind of glad to go in here and see that the CCR handbook had been updated with the new names. Thank goodness for that. So if you scroll down, there's some information that's not on the website that I want to bring to the surface now. All right, so let's explore the more detailed language that is on the website. For those of you that are keen about PDUs, ways of working. It's clear that there is more than one way that work gets done today. We encourage mastering as many ways of working as possible so you can apply the right technique at the right time, delivering winning results. Power skills. These interpersonal skills include collaborative leadership, communication, and innovative mindset for purpose orientation and empathy. Ensuring teams have these skills allows them to maintain influence with a variety of stakeholders, a critical component for making change. All right, business acumen. Professionals at large, professionals at all levels, need to be able to cultivate effective decision-making and understand how their projects align with the big picture of broader organizational strategy. There's the word I was looking for. And global trends. But the word is buried, and no one's going to care about strategy as they would have if PMI had left it in. Trust me, I know this firsthand as a PMP and many other credentials I hold. Anyway, let's take a look at what we have here. Now you have the reconfiguration of power skills, which is leadership, business acumen, and of course, ways of working. I must tell you, my friends, nothing else has changed. And this is what takes us into our next section, because you would have thought that, okay, it's going to be a very dramatic list of things, right, that would come under all of these. But actually, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. So we have ways of working PDUs claimed. It says, additionally, all ways of working PDUs earned will be counted towards the maintenance of the PMP certification. For example, if you took a 10-hour program management course covering multiple areas, including risk, so on and so forth, the PDU breakdown would be as follows. So they're really showing you what was in the old CCR handbook. Really nothing has changed. I actually have a video on all of this stuff that I just did months ago. Now I have to go back and do it all over again. Well, thank you, PMI. Very nice of you. All right. So that's that. Let's go back to our list of pros and cons. All right. Another con I would like to talk about is consistency. One of the cons here is, yes, it's a new talent triangle, but it is not consistent with the PMP exam content outline, which is people, process, and business, right? It is not consistent with some of the other models across the board. So that leads to further confusion. It's always good to keep things as uniform as possible. This just gives us another thing to think about. All right, let's move on. The next one I want to talk about here is just the overall alignment. Alignment of the talent triangle of before to standards. Yes, it wasn't quite on point with the PMP outline and a few other things, but you could easily identify and trace the similarities in. With these, I almost wanted to say funky new names, is hard. Just being straight up honest. Okay, it's kind of hard. It's hard for traceability. It's hard. Anyway, moving on. Stay in power. What do I mean by stay in power? When you take a look at other entities and other organizations, such as the Agile Alliance, the Scrum Alliance, to mention a few, what you see in these organizations is they actually have stay in power. They've been in the game, not as long as PMI have, but they've been in the game for a while. Why are they in the game the way they are? It's because they have stay in power as a result of consistency. Let's take a look at the Agile Manifesto real quick. Stay with me here. Let's just go to the Agile Manifesto real quick. agilemanifesto.org. All right, let's go there. Let's put it in. Let's take a look at the image behind of the 17 forefathers of the Agile movement. Oh, it's the same photo that's been up since 2001. Shouldn't they update that image? Come on now. Come on, Agile Manifesto folks. Aren't you tired of seeing that? All right. Let's take a look at the values. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. It hasn't changed. Here's what I'm saying. The reason why the Agile Manifesto is so far-reaching and so potent and powerful and recognized is the staying power. I know some people are saying, well, it does need to be updated. No, it doesn't need to be updated. Even someone at Starbucks can use this thing to serve customers. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer. Someone with a bright idea would have said, no, change it to stakeholder. There are more people that you could satisfy. No, that's silly. Keep it simple and just leave it as is. There's no point to change it to stakeholder. What about this one? Welcome change in requirements, even late. Well, you know, not everything in a product backlog is a requirement. Let's make it user story as well. We welcome changing user stories and requirements. Do you see the folly in what I'm saying? There's no need to change this. Absolutely no need. So when you talk about staying power of an organization, just look at the Agile Alliance. Look at the Agile Manifesto. look at a number of organizations around you. I think one of the problems, big problem that we have in the world of PMI is everyone wants to change something. The moment they become either the chair of a particular section of a standard or an exam, they begin to think they have to change. You don't have to change. It's still working. Leadership, strategic business management, and technical project management would have still done the job. It would have. The reason why this is really irking me is the concept of the 7th versus the 6th. It was a needless, tedious, directionless change in many respects. There's some parts that are great, and there are other parts that are just not great. You just left it. Just left it as is and maybe augment a few parts. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox here shortly. I know my ranting kind of annoys certain people, but hey, I've been a PMP for 17 years. Put yourself in my shoes and you have some to rant about. Give me a break. All right. Singular lane and long-term strategy. Singular lane and long-term strategy. It's part of what I'm saying. We are the PMI. We are the Project Management Institute. That's who we are. That's what we're called. That's what we're about. Don't have shiny object syndrome. Yes, I know there are many companies that are they're doing things in Agile, and I know it's sometimes a market share game, but no, think strategy. What makes you unique? What distinguishes between you and the Agile Alliance? What distinguishes between you and the Scrum Alliance? And capitalize on it. Stop trying to play in their field, on their terms, in their dimensions, right? Don't do that. As the great Michael Porter said, one of the mistakes a lot of firms make is trying to compete on the same playing field and same dimensions instead of being unique. PMI is truly unique, and I think what they need to do is focus on that uniqueness and stop having shiny object syndrome, changing names, changing certification. No, just stay in that lane and descale, right? Instead of adding a whole bunch more stuff that time will tell if it's of value. Time will tell. But anyway, that's all. That's the end of the show. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'm off my soapbox. Sorry if I annoyed anyone. Or maybe I'm not sorry. Go to another channel. It's your buddy Phil here. Thank you very much. Appreciate you joining. If you have any comments about this change, why don't you drop them in the comments or in the live chat. Thank you, NC Worker. Always good to see you. And Nicole, thank you very much. Appreciate you and prompting me to do this. Okay, thank you all very much. And those of you who voted, just so you know, we got our votes back. We had some people who took part in the survey. And 3/4 of the individuals said, no, we don't like that. 3/4 of the folks said this wasn't good. Because why do you have to change again? You don't have to. You don't have to keep changing because of everything. Oh, that one word, it could be embellished a little bit. Let's change it. No, stop it, stop it, stop it. Okay, it's enough. It's enough. We're just trying to get over the 7th. We're just trying to cope. People are still saying, which one should I read, Phil? Is it that one or that one? And now the poor people, they're done with the exam, right? They're passed. And now, Phil, it says power skills. I'm not an electrician. What does it mean? Come on now. All right, my friends. Thank you very much. I'm off my soapbox. Signing off. See you again soon. Bye for now.